Thank you, Noah, for that introduction. I'd like to talk about milestones firstly in general, as Noah has already done, and say that as an introduction to the concept, what we're looking at trying to do is to bring a little element of project management and looking at the testing process at a higher level than we do with regard to requirements. Normally with requirements, we look at a requirement and then we connect to it test cases and say that these test cases are linked to the requirement. Then the requirement is either passed or failed based on the test cases. However, taking milestones allows us to look a little bit more globally. We look at this higher level where we're able to take phases of testing or particular components of testing which are greater than the level which we look at with regard to requirements. And then we use these to draw up a picture which allows us to see in a greater level of depth what is going on with our testing process at that stage. So, for example, if we want to test the phase, we can look at a UAT phase, or we can look at a particular SIT or perhaps a functionality and draw it at a higher level. It will include a group of requirements. It's more like a sort of epic level, but it could also be, instead of being functionality based, as I said, time based as well. So you're looking at a particular month, perhaps a couple of sprints or one sprint, and you're going to base your requirements on that. And having taken that into account, you're able to look at your product testing and see whether you're on track with it. And if necessary, make changes to your testing process as well to make sure that your milestones are reached in a timely fashion. So PractiTest now, with its new milestone functionality, has a complete module in the system, which you can see over here on the left-hand side. You've got above your requirements, you've got the milestones module. And the milestones module here is set out graphically to show you, with regard to each milestone that you have in the system, the name of the milestone. It tells you the dates, because the dates are very important in this. It shows you what the status of the milestone is, in this case, upcoming. And then you've got an active milestone over here. And then down at the bottom, you've got the graphs. And they show two things, the graphs. They show the coverage status of the milestone, whether you're covering your particular requirements. And secondly, the execution status of the milestone, what percentage of your milestone has been executed and how close you are to completing it. And here I've got 3 milestones in the system. The application I'm testing is a menu system to be able to be used in restaurants. It can be either deployed to Android tablets, which are supplied by the restaurant, or you might be able to install it on your own iPhone over here. So this is the menu items on the iPhone. And then the third phase of this testing is to be able to actually send the information from either the iPhone or the Android tablet to both the billing system, the setting up your payments for the restaurant, and also to the kitchen, of course, because there's no point in having the menus, if they aren't integrated with the kitchen, sending the information to the kitchen about what has been ordered so that it can be prepared. So my first milestone is the Android tablet, the internal tablets which are supplied by the restaurant. And the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to put all the menu items on them, make sure they display at the correct times and they show what they're meant to. Then the second one is the same testing, but to be done on customers' iPhones through the iPhone app instead. And finally, the third phase, once both of those are working, is to integrate the billing and the kitchen part of the restaurant into the system as well and make a wider system. So if we go to my test library, I've got a group of tests over here. The first set of tests are that you should be able to have the drinks menu supplied, and it tells you in the testing itself when each of the drinks should be supplied for cold drinks, hot drinks, cocktails, business lunches, happy hour menu. And so these are all my test cases, and I've got to make sure that things appear in the correct form and at the correct time. And obviously, these test cases are all applicable to both the iPhone and the Android app as well. And so these test cases then will be put into test sets, and each of them will be put into test sets for the menus working on Android and the menus correct for iPhone. And you'll see that they're exactly the same number of tests. They're exactly the same tests in both of the apps. And then I also have in my system, I also have requirements. So if I go over to the requirements, I've got my first requirement is that the menu works with the Android tablet. Second one is that it works with the iPhone. And thirdly, the integration works for this is phase 3. And then I'm also going to have a phase 4, which I haven't yet created, which is my regression testing as well. So I can filter my particular information by what milestone that I've put it in. And if we look at the requirements over here, we've got the traceability tab. Traceability tab shows what linked milestone it is. So it's linked to the menu items on Android tablet. If we go into the test sets and runs module, you'll see also that we have a custom field, which is showing up over here. We scroll down to the general tab, and then we look, we see we've got a custom field here, which is set up by the system. Sorry, it's a system field, which is set up with the milestone in it. And you select the value of the milestone. And when you've got it in the milestone, then it will show you within that milestone, and you'll be able to take all the advantages of organization and graphs based on that milestone as well. So let's take and see, based on the fact that we're using it as a system field, we can plot things on dashboard graphs. So let's go to our dashboard a moment and see how the milestones are impacting on my dashboard. And as you'll see over here, we have milestone progresses. These are my own custom graphs, which I've set up. But what I'm using, and this is important, is I'm using the filters based on the system field of milestones. So I've created a filter in each module, and I've said that the milestone is Android, or the milestone is iPhone testing. And then I'm able to draw graphs. This is my reverse burn down chart, my planned versus executed chart. Here it's showing what my executed is, my planned is. And you can see that I'm ahead of schedule with my execution of my tests over here. And then I've got my instance status graphs over here, again, set by only milestone Android. You can see that all 5 of them have passed. And then over here, you can see my step statuses also for it. And here at the bottom, I've got my milestone Android with my progress graph over here. Got some issues over here, down here as well, that if I've got issues, it will show me what the statuses of my issues are going across the particular different items that I've wanted to show. So I can do all of my graphs, and I can sort them out by milestone as well, which is important because I can then show at a high level exactly what's going on with my milestones also. So let's go back to the milestones themselves and take a look inside the milestone system and walk through it. So the first thing you'll notice is that I've got my milestones here shown. I can filter my milestones over here by this little filter at the top, and I can decide which milestones do I want to see. Do I only want to see my upcoming milestones? Do I want to see my active milestones? Do I want to see my completed ones? So I'm going to just set for upcoming and active at the moment. I don't need to see my completed ones. So I'm going to click apply. And it shows the same because they're all either upcoming or active. Now, if I want to set one of my milestones to completed, I can go over here and edit the milestone. And then I'm going to change its status from active to completed. And once I've done that, it will no longer appear on the graph because I've not chosen to show completed milestones. And you can see over here that I've got my iPhone, my Android I've completed, that's all done. And my iPhone is my next milestone to run. And my coverage status is showing that both of the requirements, the only requirement in it is failed, 100% failed. My execution status is showing because all of my tests are linked to that particular run status connected to one requirement. Therefore, 2 of them have been run so far. So I've already started, even though I'm showing as upcoming. Maybe I should change the status of that to being active now. So let's make it active. And then I'm going to do a bit of testing in this milestone. And within this milestone, you can see I've got a dashboard, which shows me my requirement coverage, my status cover, my issue coverage status over here, and my instances by status. And it's a nice little dashboard which just gives you a high level view of what's going on. So let's go to have a look at our test set, which we've got in this milestone. And I can click on the test set and enter it. And you'll see that I've got my 5 standard tests, which are being used by all the milestones. But in this case, they're showing as failed and no run. So I'm going to run the next test in the line. And it's the system should have a drinks menu for cocktails. And I'm going to set it and I'm going to run it. And when I run it, I'm going to say that it passes all steps. Click OK. Yep, that all works. Actual result is they appear as programmed. Yep. And so then if I go back to my test set over here and look at my test set, you can see now that my third test has passed. If I now go and fail my next test, let's run the next test, the business lunch test. So we're going to click save and run now on this. And when I run it, you're going to see that the system should show it. So it shows till 3 p.m. Which is a failure because it should only show till 2 p.m. I'm going to create an issue over here. Create issue and continue testing. Let's just check. We're going to apply it to our milestone on iPhone over here. Click apply. Set our priority, show stopper, type defect, create and continue testing. Now, if I go back to my milestone now, and let's look at my iPhone milestone, you'll see that there's been some extra activity since I last looked at it. We go to the dashboard. You see that now 3 tests have failed and 1 test has passed. And we've got 1 issue set at status new. So that's where we're up to now. And if we look at the issues, we can see the issue here is set as showstopper in here as well. So I'm just going to click on the name of this, and we're going to have our testers working at top speed. They're going to fix it. They're going to open it. They're going to work on it. And then once they've worked on it, move on to the next status. They've assigned it, save the status, and now it's fixed. Click save. We're going to go over here and we're going to verify that we're going to go through our test over here, and then we're going to write over here, fixed with permit, please retest. Click save. And now we're going to go to our traceability tab, and we're going to go back to this run. We're going to look at the run in the test set. And then when we click on it, we're going to go and we're going to rerun it. Click run. Save and run now. And then we're going to say works now until 2 p.m. Click pass, and it's going to be pass all steps. Click OK. And now if we go back to our milestone again, you'll see that the execution status has now changed, and we've got 2 passes over here where before we only had 1. Let's go in and have a look at our test set. Test set's still showing failed because those first 2 tests have still failed. But now we've got our 2 passes over here. And when we go back to our milestone, go back to the milestone and have a look at the dashboard now. We're showing now 2 passes, 2 fails, and 1 no run. Our requirement coverage is still failed, obviously, and our issue by status is now showing 1 at fixed, which should really, of course, be 1 at closed. So let's go to the issue, and we're going to go back and now say it was retested and passed. So let's go over here to the general tab. Let's edit this. Please retest, retested, and passed. And we're going to save that, and we're going to change our status to closed. Click save. And that's the process. We now look at our milestones again back over here. And when we look at our milestone, we see, because we need to go in and see the dashboard for that, you can see we've now got our status of 1 closed. Now, if we go and we look at our dashboards and we create a dashboard for the iPhone milestone, let's go and do that for our milestone. So we're going to go to Customize Dashboard, and we're going to clone this dashboard. Yes. And now I've cloned this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to change it to Milestone Progress iPhone. And I'm going to change this from all test sets to iPhone milestone. Click Save Dashboard Item. And then if we go back to the main tab, we're going to change the milestone Android, and we're going to change this to milestone iPhone as well. And we're going to make it iPhone milestone. And then as we save it, you'll see that we've got different statuses here from the milestone Android. And this is important because what we're doing is we're actually using the same test cases. And whereas in the past, PractiTest has always looked for the latest run of the test case in any test set, it's now defined by milestone. So because I have my separate milestones, even though I'm using the same test cases, and when I run different test sets, it's filtering by the milestone, and I'm seeing the information which is specifically relevant to this milestone alone and to nowhere else in the system. So this is showing me the tests of the test set, which contains 5 generic test cases for both milestones. But because it's within this milestone, I am only showing the testing results of this particular milestone and the last run statuses of the only one test set, which is linked to this milestone. I'm not showing all of the results. This is not a general instance chart. This is an instance chart based on the milestone only. And so I've got very specific answers here going on, and I'm able to reuse these test cases for different milestones with the different test sets, and for them to be showing separate results in my dashboard charts as well. Let's finish off by going and looking at the milestones once more, and we're just going to create a new milestone. So I'm going to click on the new milestone button, and I'm going to call this my regression milestone. Regression 1 milestone. Test everything so far. And for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my status as upcoming. I'm going to set my type of milestone as version. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to set my dates for it. And we're going to set it for 29th of May till, let's go to June. And let's go to 5th of June. I'm going to create the milestone. As always with PractiTest, the fields are all customizable. You can change whatever you want in these fields. You can change the values in them and use them as you want to use them. So here we are, we've created the milestone. Obviously, dashboards are blank, no requirements in it. So let's go and see if we can add a requirement, link a requirement. Here we are, regression testing. The ones which are in orange means they've already been used, so you probably don't want to use them in this milestone. Click link to requirement, regression testing. Then I'm going to go to my test sets, and I'm going to add my regression test set, which I've already created. And my regression test set is over here. Click that, link one test set. That's all linked now. And that's all I have to do. It's all set up, my milestone ready for testing. And I can do dashboards for it if I want to in the main dashboards module, or I can rely just on the information here as well. One further result of using custom fields is that we're able to do reports which are based on those custom fields as well. So if I go and use my milestone and I want to create a milestone report for iPhone, I'm able to do that. I've created one over here. Let's just check it, click the edit button, Here we are, Milestones iPhone report. Over here, you check the alternating rows, and I've got my filter by iPhone milestone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rerun it. I'm going to run it now because I've changed the data in it. We'll come out in a moment. And then when I click the run button, the download of Excel button over here, it's going to download my Excel over here. From file, please. There we go. Yes. And here is my milestone over here, showing my statuses. And then if I go to the data tab, it's showing the 2 passed tests and the 2 failed tests over here. It's showing my step menu, as you remember, over here. Let's have a look at our actual results. Oops, cancel. There we go. Here's our actual results over here. Let's just go and make the column a bit wider so that we can see them. Tests appear, they appear as programmed, works now until 2 p.m. And that was our latest statuses. And we're seeing them in a report here based on the milestone and with the run statuses of these tests based on this milestone as well. And you can see over here that we've got all the information that we need within the system to tell us what has been tested. So you've got your milestone report here, even though it's not called a milestone report, because it's been created from the milestone, we could have the milestone test set field appearing there and it would show you and confirm everything is running according to that milestone as well. One other question that we had with regard to milestones is, are we going to integrate the milestones into Jira as well? At the moment, they aren't integrated into Jira, but we are discussing that and we're going to work out the best way to have integration between the milestones and Jira, because at the moment, only the requirements are linked into Jira, not the milestones. And so what you'll see in Jira is you'll still see the old system in operation in Jira, although within PractiTest, when you go to the milestones, you'll see everything based on the milestone. And so just to conclude over here, just taking one last look at our milestones over here, we've got our 3 milestones in existence. Let's just go and select all so that we see the old one as well. So we've got all of our 4 milestones here. We've got our Android milestone, our iPhone milestone. Our Android milestone is showing completed and all passed. Our iPhone milestone is showing that the one requirement is failed. If you had more than one requirement and test sets linked to different parts of the requirement, then you could have not just showing failed, you could have some of the requirements showing as passed and some showing as failed. But because I've only got one, it's showing it as completely failed. Over here, we've got our execution progress, showing our status with 2 passed and 2 failed and 1 not run. And then we've got our other milestones over here, our upcoming milestones, which have not yet been started, all shown clearly by date. And so all filterable and with all the information that we want able to be shared over here as well. Thank you for watching and look forward to bringing you more on milestones and other areas of the software in the future.